We live in color, emotional beings. From moment to moment, it can change.
You are not prepared properly. You're not organized. You're not prepared. Um, the experience is different than if you are well prepared, and you're not going to be intrinsically motivated to do that again. It's going to be very difficult for you to do that again because of the lack of preparation. You're not going to think about the lack of preparation. You're just going to think about the feeling attached to when I went to give a presentation, I had a bad experience, or my anxiety shot up because I couldn't find my notes and I didn't know where to go next. And what it really boils down to is you now lack motivation because you attempted to execute something unprepared.
Well, with the intrinsic motivation too, it would seem it's more personal. In other words, it's something that you're passionate about, that you're enthusiastic about. And if you're ill prepared and not organized, certainly, it doesn't demonstrate those facts that
Sure.
this is something that is of value to me. It's something that
Sure.
I'm really interested in, and I want to share it with you. That's not going to come across, if
Mhm.
you haven't put in the time and whatever
Definitely.
other type of investment that you
Sure.
needed to put in order to go ahead and make that presentation or have that performance.
Sure. Sure. And I think there are things that we may label or think intrinsic motivation, but they are actually extrinsic.
Mhm.
Um, if you are feeling pressured to do something, you may take on and absorb that pressure and then say, hey, I desire to do X. But in actuality, that's not intrinsic. That's extrinsic because of the pressure that you were feeling to do something. For instance, if you want to be promoted on your job and there's an opportunity for someone to do some type of presentation, and you are thinking, oh, I want this promotion. So I'm going to do this presentation. Yes, I'll do it. I'll do it. Well, you
Mhm.
weren't intrinsically motivated. You were extrinsically motivated because you want the promotion. And you thought if you did this presentation that you would get the promotion. So that is not intrinsic. That is extrinsically motivated because of something that you are, an outcome that you're desiring. And that's different than being intrinsically motivated just because I love it or I'm passionate about it.
Mhm.
That's very different.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for us, to help people to identify when it is intrinsic and when it is extrinsic. And
Hmm.
it's not to say that one can't shift into
Hmm.
the other. That's the other
Hmm.
thing. It's not a dichotomy where, it's always going to be this or it's always going to be that. There
Right.
can be a reason as to why it started out one way and then shifted into the other one. Now, hopefully, the intrinsic is something that stays with us on a consistent basis. Whereas
Hmm.
extrinsic, whether it's the promotion, whether it's a raise,
Hmm.
a lot of times extrinsic may be more attached to short term goals rather than
Yes.
long term. Um,
Yes.
and when I was doing some research on this, it made me think that sometimes when we have a passion for something like a hobby, for example,
Hmm. Hmm.
but then we turn it into a business,
Mm-hmm.
what happens? It doesn't necessarily mean it'll shift into extrinsic motivation,
Yes.
but a lot of times it does.
Yes, definitely. So I sang all my life and loved it, and just I was intrinsically motivated to do it. Um, I sang all day, every day, since very young. Well, then I start undergraduate, and my undergrad degree is in music with a concentration in voice. Okay.
Mhm.
So I now move from singing because I love to sing
Mhm.
into this is now a profession. And it's not the fact that it wasn't a profession before, but it was a profession on my own terms. You know,
Mhm.
I do, I sing this type of music. I do this, I do this. I sing with these people because I like to sing with them versus you have to sing with this choir and this choir and this choir. Oh, and by the way, you have to learn to sing in these languages. You have to do this language and 7 pieces of music with 2 in English, 2 in French, 2 in, Latin, all of these different things. Now,
Mhm.
for when I got to year 2, going into year 3 of my undergraduate degree, I started to hate to sing. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I hating singing? Well, it had nothing to do with I hated singing. It had everything to do with this motivation to sing now is extrinsic. It is a
Mhm.
demand. It is from outside. And, not only that, but you are attaching other things to it. You also have academics, so you have all of this music that you have to do, not you didn't choose any of this, okay?
Mhm.
Then on top of that, you have all of your academics. Then on top of that, you have a family versus just being a 13-year-old girl that just loves to sing and sings with whomever she pleases.
Mhm.
So moving from intrinsic to extrinsic um, it can be challenging because it's a different experience. Um, But I think you have to find your why.
Uh-huh.
You have to attach meaning to it. That is how I was able to get back to my love for singing because of my why, because of what it meant to me, just overall. Um, and because of what I feel my purpose is.
Mhm.
So that level of meaning as well. So if you feel something going from intrinsic, meaning that you loved it and it was just a pleasure to do it and that drove your motivation, if you feel that moving into extrinsic because of whatever the circumstances may be, find your why. That's so important in so many instances. Find your why and find your meaning in why you were doing it in the first place. Sometimes you may not have meaning, but then as you do it, that establishes itself.
Mhm. And sometimes, as teachers and professors, um, hopefully we can reverse the process because so many
Mhm.
times our students are enrolled in our classes because they have to take them. It's part of their
Sure,
degree plan. They're
sure.
stuck with them and
Yeah.
they have to get X. It's a passing grade.
Yeah,
Now, adult learners can be challenging because of wanting to know, well, what can I do with this? How does this apply to me? So
mhm.
sometimes, if we can help them shift from that idea of, well, I need it to pass this class.
Sure,
I need to remember it long enough to take the exam, but
sure.
actually find that application for it in daily life. You know,
Definitely.
in forensic psychology, many of my students enroll in that class because they're
Mhm.
curious,
Yeah.
because television, movies, social media,
Yes.
news, you know, the serial killer mystique, the whole thing. So they
Yeah.
end up in my class.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is fine. However, what, unless you're in homicide or you're going to be a
Right.
sketch artist
Yeah.
or something of this sort, what do you do with this? But actually, there are so many things that they can learn, like verbal and nonverbal communication, for example. How to recognize certain behaviors, how to rely on their intuition and gut instincts. It's so
Hmm.
much more than what
Yes.
it appears to be on the surface. So my hope
Yes.
is, and most of my students stick with me through the whole semester, and it's not an
Yes.
easy course. It's
Yes.
far from easy, um,
Yes.
but they start to realize the practical applications, even if they're not joining the FBI.
Yes. And, I see why they stay in your class. The reason why they stay in your class is because you have the ability as a teacher to illustrate um, the practical skills that you will learn that you don't think about. For instance, you know, like you said, they're going to learn all of these other skills that are applicable in life. Okay, you're not going to work for the FBI, but you'll be able to follow your gut instincts. You'll learn to trust yourself.
Mhm.
That's higher confidence that you're going to gain, right? In yourself, in your intuition. You know, that's such a powerful thing. And it helps them to visualize because if you're moving from if motivation is extrinsic, it's best that you visualize the outcomes that you are desiring. So,
Mhm.
for instance, okay, so I had to take statistics.
Oh, Lord.
I cannot tell you. Oh my God.
Yes, you
I had to
can.
take, I can help. Yeah, I take statistics and then I had to take graduate level statistics. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh my God, I just cannot escape this. I hate this so much. Why? Because I hate anything that has things to do with math. I know I'm a musician. Nobody ever gets that when I tell them that. But, music is simple math.
Yeah.
Um, so in order to get through the course, I had to simply tell myself, you, your goal is X. In order to get to your goal, this is one of for me, it's an obstacle because I hate it so much.
Mhm.
But this is one of the obstacles this is a hurdle that you have to jump over. And I had to visualize myself where I am now. So
Mhm.
any course that I had that I did not like, and there were courses that I don't want to say I hated them, but I will say I had a strong disdain for them. I had to imagine where I am now to get through the course. And I think anytime motivation is coming from um, an extrinsic standpoint, you have to be able to visualize the goal,
Mhm.
So if, for instance, if there is a degree program, look at the degree program like a cow. Well, when you want to eat cow, you don't eat a whole cow. You eat a burger, you eat a steak, you eat something small, a
Mhm.
very small piece of it. So you know, each hurdle is one hamburger. Each hurdle is you eating the cow one small portion at a time
Mhm.
and being able to visualize what your ultimate goal is so that it keeps you motivated.
We live in color, emotional beings. From moment to moment, it can change.